Yep, on a weekend where not much new is playing at the movie theater, I decided to go see a movie that a lot of people were talking about for the wrong reasons. So Ben-Hur is a remake to the 1959 movie of the same name. That version of Ben-Hur being one of the most acclaimed movies of all time. It's on my list of movies that I really need to see. So naturally, when a movie that was that good and that loved by everyone who saw it is now getting a remake, it doesn't really inspire much confidence because we all know how those kind of remakes turn out. But now that I've seen this Ben-Hur, I guess we might as well talk about it. So Ben-Hur revolves around the character Judah Ben-Hur and his adopted brother Masala. And the beginning of this movie shows that when these two were growing up, they were best friends. They did everything together. They were as close as brothers could be. Or as close as adopted brothers could be, if you will. But this movie does also establish that these two have very different beliefs between each other. On one side, you have Judah, who is Jewish, and then on the other side, you have Masala, who's very, very interested in Roman mythology. And it's because of his different beliefs that he feels he's not really the most accepted or even welcomed in his adopted family. And with that, he decides to leave them, leave Judah, and go join the Roman army. So then the movie flashes forward 3 years later. We see that Judah is now married, and then Masala is now a very highly ranked Roman officer. The two happily reunite in Jerusalem, but here is where Masala requests something of Judah. Masala wants Judah to serve as an informant between him and the Zealots. The Zealots are essentially a political Jewish movement who are completely opposed to Roman rule. Romans have been at war with the Zealots for so long now, and Masala feels that Judah, serving as this informant, will help bring an end to this conflict. However, Judah doesn't want to do that because, of course, he doesn't want to feel like he's being a rat to his fellow Jews. But that all no longer matters when a few days later, a Roman soldier is shot down by a zealot who's actually played by that short Mexican kid who used to be on Disney Channel. So I guess this is what he's doing nowadays. However, the shot came from Judah's home. So with that, Masala and his Roman soldiers, they go in there, they arrest Judah and his family. Masala at this point feels betrayed with Judah because Judah refused to act as an informant, and also because Judah is not giving up who took that shot. So now Masala is forced to assume that Judah is the one who took that shot. So with that, he now forces Judah into slavery and orders the crucifixion of Judah's mother and sister. So that's around the first half of this movie, and I gotta tell you guys, it was so boring. The first half primarily focuses on how, you know, Masala and Judah, they're brothers, they're best friends, they love each other, they'll do anything in this world for one another. Then Masala decided to become a Roman soldier, he came back to Jerusalem, and now he's just sentenced Judah to slavery and his family to crucifixion. That's essentially all that happens in the first half of this movie, so you would not expect it to feel so long, but it did. And what also sucks is the fact that when Masala returns to Jerusalem and he and Judah meet each other, they're so happy to see each other again, is the fact that only a few scenes later, they now hate each other because one thinks the other's a traitor and decides to force the other into slavery and just do away with his family. It felt really sloppy. It showed right here that the movie is really struggling with pulling off character development, and it really had me dreading for the movie's second half. But I will say, the opening scene of the second half of this movie was actually pretty entertaining. Because the second half shows Judah 5 years later, he's been rowing this Roman ship as part of his slavery. And then out of nowhere, the ship gets into a huge naval battle with the Greek rebels. It's a big intense scene, a lot of the slaves die, the Roman ship is destroyed, and we see that Ben-Hur is forced to survive on sea on the wreckage of the ship for who knows how long. Luckily though, Judah ends up being washed up onto shore where he now meets Morgan Freeman. And I gotta say this right now, Morgan Freeman did nothing memorable in this movie. I mean, the way he was acting, the way he was delivering his dialogue, everything that he was ultimately bringing to this movie, you could tell this guy didn't give a shit. He probably knew. He's like, yeah, this is a remake to a really popular movie. There's no way this is gonna turn out well. I'm just gonna do what I need to do to get a paycheck. And the producers probably didn't really care because they're just like, hey, we have Morgan Freeman in this movie. A lot of people will come to see it just for that. So anyways, Morgan Freeman ultimately decides not to turn Judah over to the Roman soldiers because he sees that Judah is capable of tending to his horses, and with that, Morgan Freeman decides to train Judah to be a chariot racer. So now they travel to Jerusalem to prepare for the big chariot race that's coming in Jerusalem, where here Judah fortunately reunites with his wife. She tells him that his mother and sister are dead, but then Judah Judah soon learns from a former Roman soldier that his mother and sister are in fact alive. So he takes Judah to where his mother and sister have been this whole time, but it's here where Judah discovers that in this village that they were sentenced to by Masala, his mother and sister have developed leprosy. So now seeing that they are basically living a life that's now worse than death, Judah is now hell-bent on getting his revenge on Masala. So now we get to the chariot race. Morgan Freeman has bet big money that Judah will beat Masala in this race, which is kind of a big deal because the Romans are apparently undefeated in these chariot races. So now the chariot race begins, and similar to the naval attack earlier in this movie, this was also a pretty entertaining scene. I mean, chariots are colliding, so many people are getting killed. It eventually does come down to just Masala and Judah. The two are doing everything in their power to kill one another, destroy the other chariots, because they both know that the first to finish is the last to die. And of course, Judah wins the race. Masala, however, doesn't die, but he does lose his leg from his accident. Now we get to the ending of this movie. Okay. You've probably heard about the ending of this movie to this point, but I'm gonna touch on it anyway. At this point, we're now at the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, this movie takes place in the same time period as that. So Jesus is crucified in front of all the Jews, in front of all these people, and then from there, immediately after he dies, rain falls from the sky, which cures Judah's mother and sister of their leprosy, and then immediately after that, Judah goes, he reunites with Masala. Masala is still without his leg, he has a knife in his hand, he's swinging it at Judah, he's like, don't you dare come near me or I'm gonna kill you! You're just throwing all these hateful words, all these threats to Judah, and what happens after that? Judah kneels down and he and Masala hug, and Masala drops his knife, so they're still hugging it out. And then from there, Masala and Judah, they reunite with Judah's mother and sister and Judah's wife, and they all just have a big group hug on each other, and then they all just ride off into the sunset as this movie ends. What? Are you kidding me? That is how you're going to end this movie right now? Okay, so before I delve any further, let me just say this right now. I'm a believer in miracles. I'm a believer in forgiveness. I am a believer in Jesus. And I know that Jesus absolutely died on the cross so all the sins of all the people of the world would be forgiven. But the way they made his crucifixion as the end-all be-all solution for everything that happened in this movie, I'm sorry, I thought it was pretty stupid. It honestly wasn't so much the rain falling from the sky that cured Judah's mother and sister of leprosy. I was kind of able to buy that. It's the fact that after the crucifixion, Judah is able to go right up to Masala, give him a big hug, they forgive each other right then and right there, despite everything that has gone on between the two of them. Despite the fact that Masala just lost a leg, just lost the race, and more importantly, the fact that Masala sold Judah into slavery where he was for 5 years, as well as the fact that he left Judah's mother and sister to basically suffer in hell on earth. And then after all of that, they can all reunite, just have a big group hug between each other, and everything is just all in well with them. It was just an ending that felt so forced and so cheesy, and you almost feel like the producer threw in that ending because they weren't entirely sure just how to end this movie, so they used Jesus' crucifixion as a cheat to basically wrap all these plot points together so everything could end on such a happy note. I will say this, if Jesus Christ was a more memorable character, a more major character rather, in this movie, and the movie focused more on his teachings when he was alive, everything he brought to the world, and they made the story between Judah and Masala as a side story, and instead, you know, made everything about Jesus the main focal point of this movie. And then when he was crucified and it led to the cure of the leprosy and the forgiveness between Masala and Judah, then I'd probably be able to buy it a little bit more. But it's the fact that Jesus is only in this movie for maybe 2 scenes. It just feels like they just used that as a cop-out. So all in all, in my opinion, Ben-Hur was a really bad movie. Like I said, the scene on the ship and the chariot race, those were entertaining. I will not deny the movie that. Jack Houston and Toby Kebbell, they do a fine job as Judah and Masala, but neither of them really give any mind-blowing performances. And also, the pacing in this movie is just horrible. I was so bored for most of this movie. Morgan Freeman really brought nothing to this movie. The character development in this movie is terrible. The fact that this movie is fast forwarding 3 years and 5 years throughout it feels like really bad storytelling. And like I said, the ending of this movie was just so over the top that it just dragged this movie down that much more for me. In the end, this is just another remake that probably shouldn't have happened. Man, this has been a slow summer. I've really only seen like 1 or 2 really awesome movies this summer. This is supposed to be the best time to go to the movies throughout the year. And I feel like with most of the spoilers I've been making, I've been talking about how much better a movie could have been than it actually was. Just really makes me miss the summer movie season of 2014. That was one for the ages. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.